Yes, good evening and welcome to Disability Horizons TV. It's me. Now, don't panic. Mick has said he's on his way, so I'm just going to start the intro and he should be with us.
DHTV.
Oh my God! I want to die! And there you go. And I've still got time to read my paper.
Do you know what?
I couldn't resist.
I'm sorry, thank you so much for showing that to everybody. That was from the wonderful show Beat That. And that actually took all afternoon to shoot. And
How many times did you go down there?
Going across that thing about 5 or 6 times. And because I couldn't get out of it, what they wanted me to do was go across and then land in my chair. And obviously, that was the nearest we got, where I just landed on my chair in a heap, right? And they kept, rather than get me out, take me across the other side and then put me back in the sling, which would be a pain, they just tied a rope around it and then pulled me back across. And so I've got this thing around my chest like this. Right?
Really comfortable.
And it's... And by the end, I could barely breathe. And to be honest, that's what television was like. I spent most of my youth nearly being murdered by some TV director or other. And the director of that was the wonderful Luke Jeans, who came up with the idea and was... we definitely had a kind of bizarre relationship. We kind of really got on, but we also argued a lot. And that was one of the times where I definitely wasn't happy.
I have saved it. I have got that whole set of clips and I will be playing them.
Oh, right. Thank you.
Forever. And there's some great ones on there.
And that's really funny, actually, because this last week I've been banging on about history quite a lot, because it's funny that I've been meeting a lot of people that are kind of going, oh, I'm the first to do this and I'm the first to do that. And it's like, there's a whole generation before you, people like me, who did it. And then there was a generation before them, people like Nabil Shaban, Jag Pla, people like that were doing it too. And sort of, it's funny that we get forgotten. So that's why I put it on, because I wanted everyone to remember that once upon a time I used to be famous, because it's not like I talk about it.
It works really well when you watch it on YouTube. Unfortunately, if you put it onto a modern day TV, it just looks like they're trying to hide your identity, which Channel 4 may well be.
Well, the thing is, of course, don't forget that that's a encoded version of a VHS that my mum recorded off Channel 4 in 1992. So actually, the degradation of the tape is bad enough, and then I'm burning it and I'm burning it onto DVD. Then I'm ripping it off DVD onto thing, and then I'm sticking it on YouTube, because no one, like all the channels, don't admit to it. So it's kind of like if Channel 4 celebrated it and put it on.
I had someone contact me earlier and said, "I hear Mick's on DHTV," and I wouldn't admit it.
No. There's some bloke, he breaks in every week. Every time we do one, he comes in. Like, I don't want to tell him to go away.
Who keeps giving him the password?
Yeah, he keeps sending in the login details. But I think it's weird because, I mean, the BBC...
Mark.
Good. I'm glad you can't, Mark, and I'll make sure that I bang on about it. In fact, when I die, I'm going to have on my gravestone, "Here lies Mick Scarlett." What do you mean you don't know who Mick Scarlett is?
We just have a screen built in with a solar panel and it just play it all on loop.
Okay, I used to be somebody.
Onto the questions, like Max Headroom. Onto the questions. We are answering your questions this week. We've had very few in. No, we haven't had very few in. We've had a few.
Lots of questions, but from very few people.
So if you've got questions,
please,
send them in live.
Dear viewer, if you are watching and you've got a question, Mark, maybe how can we forget that Mick was famous? That maybe it's not actually a statement; it's a question. Yeah. What can we do to forget this person? Then obviously, that would be.
Let's start with Katie Fraser. I'm going to start this one. Is there anything you'd wish you'd done in your careers that you wanted to try out? Now, obviously, for Mick, this is TV related. My careers have no bearing. Mine were just the mundane.
I don't know, actually. I don't know to be honest, I never really wanted to do telly. I fell in it by mistake. I was performing a gig in a club in Luton and my computer blew up and I fixed it. And while I was fixing it, I told some jokes because I was really scared that someone was going to start throwing bottles, because the club I was in that tended to happen at some point in the night anyway, and I thought I would be the cue for it. So I told some jokes. There was a bloke in the audience who was on a stag night, who was bored, and there was a producer for Thames Television. He said, "Do you want to come and do a screen test?" I went, yes, because at that point, everybody that went on television got a record deal. So I thought, this is my way in. So I did it.
The rest is denied.
And I got a great, yes, and the rest is ignored and forgotten. And I got a great career in television. But the thing I always wanted to do was do music. I wanted to be a pop star. So I wanted to, the thing I really, really, really wanted to do was go on Top of the Pops. And I'd got it all planned. I'd got the whole stage designed, so it was all wheelchair accessible, and I'd be able to shoot around and do all stunts. I even used to have a dream where I'd come on to Top of the Pops dressed all casually, and then rip all the clothes off and be all outrageous, and then machine gun the audience. Which, of course, would not have got me to number one.
Never happened.
But that wasn't what I was going to do. That's what I was dreamt. I had a very weird imagination back then. But that's what I wanted to do. So I wanted to play music, release records. And to this day, it's something I kind of wish I'd have done. I listen back to the demos and stuff and think, why didn't we get signed? And the answer was, I'm really sorry, mate, but I don't know if people in little girls are going to buy pictures want to buy things with blokes in wheelchairs on. Will people buy records by people in wheelchairs? I don't think they will. No, it's too expensive. It's too much of a risk. And that's why it didn't happen.
I actually tell you one thing I wanted to do in my career. I worked as a firefighter that way over the MOD on the Proof and Experimental Establishment Ranges, emergency cover, but mainly we're going to set this light, you try and put it out. And I wanted to join Red Adair. Do you remember Red Adair? The Texan firefighters used to do the oil wells.
Yeah, when they blew up and then you
at the end of the Gulf War, he was out there putting out the first Gulf War, all the fires, all the oil fires. And I really wanted to go out and have a go at that.
See, now mine seems a bit dull. I wanted to be a pop star. I wanted to be a hero firefighter and flying around the world, putting out amazing fires. Wasn't there a film about that?
Probably. Yeah, I can remember them blowing up some oil.
They blow up the rig, the oil.
Basically using explosives to put out fire.
Yeah, and then you blow it out and it goes back from fire to oil and then you cap it. That was it. Yeah, no, I'm sure there's a film about that. Something, it's got a name, isn't it? That what they do, that's got a name, something riggers or
really
something
cool.
Yeah, really cool, really well, and oily. That was all. I mean, for me, with my hair, not so good. So actually, talking about hair, one of the shows on the first series was at the end. I pretended to be an alien from the planet Zog. It was kids' TV, and it was also I was wearing a costume that they'd got from the BBC that used to be in Doctor Who, and it was this thing that went around my neck, covered in silver dots. And those silver dots, when you looked at it up close, were bottle caps, and they just painted them. They just sanded off the paint and then just sewed them on. And the whole thing smelled of sweat, beer, and puke because apparently the bloke that wore it on Doctor Who was a bit of a. And they haven't washed it since. So I spent the whole time with this thing on. And my director said, put some colour in your hair. So I did this weird thing with makeup and then dyed my hair pink at the sides. And it didn't come out. So I had to go around with this pink haircut for about 3 months.
Katie wanted to be an actress. I actually, when I was a kid, wanted to be a farmer.
I wanted to be an astronaut. That's all I ever wanted. When I was a kid, I had it all planned because I had my caliper on. And it was lead. And iron and it weighed a shit ton. So my idea was I'd be able to go to the moon and I wouldn't need space feet. And I remember going to see some doctor and he goes, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I went, "Astronaut." You know, "Oh, okay." It's all right. I won't need space boots. I've got the caliper. I'll be able to get on the moon.
Just the G-force would have broken your spine into many pieces.
Many, many years later, me and Di went to a thing at the Science Museum, which was kind of a joke, be an astronaut night with someone one of the European space astronaut people. And we did the thing. Diane passed. There was one of 2 people that actually passed, so they could have been an astronaut. And I was like, I completely failed. But I said this question. I said, "Can I just ask, why don't you send anyone disabled into space? Because of course we'd be much better in 0G. My legs already don't work, so I'd be great. And I've got my spine's made of metal. And it was a joke, but this guy took it so seriously. And he was like, "Oh, well, I don't think that'll ever happen because," and he was desperately trying. It's like, it was a joke, mate. you're worried that you might offend me.
I would actually love to sleep. I can never get comfortable in bed because no matter which way I lie, I'm in pain. And so I've always said to Donna, I need to sleep on the space station in zero gravity.
Do you know what? It's funny because I had exactly that same night last night, the not sleeping night.
Yeah.
4 o'clock, I think I finally got to
sleep.
Well,
I did tell you to turn over and go to sleep, but you wouldn't shut up.
Yeah, we're actually in the same house next door. Yeah. You know, that's the way he puts the green screen up. I'm the other side of that screen, and this is all projected. Darling, it's time for us to come out. It's Pride Month soon. So anyway, what else we got? So right. So I ask a question.
Yeah, go on then.
Now we've got Avril has asked. Let's have a look. Oh no, I don't know about that one. I think so because I've only got sent these just now because, of course, we forgot to say about questions. Right. So this is a bit of a more deep one, I think. What needs to happen to get more disabled people elected and into decision-making roles in order to make our towns, boroughs, parishes, and cities more accessible? Highways and street, and cities more accessible. Even the party claiming to be inclusive and liberal don't want to make reasonable adjustments. Where do we go? So basically, Avril is asking, how do we get into politics? How do we get into local, national, whatever? And how do we shape the future of our country so that it's more accessible when even the parties themselves are not very inclusive? What do you think?
How many disabled MPs? I mean, trying to think of them. There was the guy, the blind guy, the sight impaired guy.
David Blunkett, who insisted he wasn't disabled the entire time he was in office. Driving me up the wall.
There is a wheelchair user. I know that I've seen.
Scottish Parliament. I can't remember. We've got 2 people who can't remember their own names most days. Trying to remember people's names.
And then, of course, in the House of Lords, we've got Tanny.
Yeah, there's quite a few in the House of Lords now. And that is a hint, everybody. You can put me forward for the House of Lords. I am willing to be Sir Mik Scarlett of Luton.
That is easily done, Mick. If you've got sort of like 10 million rubles.
Have I got a felt pen? And I could just write it on the front of my name, Sir Mik Scarlett, and then just go to Luton.
I'm
sure Luton would be glad to have me back.
I'm a lord. Many years ago, over 20 years ago, I bought one of those 1 foot square pieces of land in Scotland somewhere.
You're a laird. You're a laird. Yeah, brilliant.
Lady never used it. It was just a bit of stupidity.
Very good idea. But yes, so what do you think? How do we make politics more accessible?
I think it's the intro stage that is probably the hard part. Now, Mrs. Richardson has stood as councillor before. She's hoping to do it again. And it's the pounding of the streets, the knocking on the doors, and all of that stuff that is the grind of what they do, getting in their face everywhere, every occasion. And I think that's the hard bit. Up the garden paths, knocking on the doors, depending on your area, blocks of flats, knocking on doors. You would need a team to support you.
Yes.
But if you're not in a winnable ward, your party won't give you the bods to help you.
No. And I also think there will be an element of ableism that kicks in where they go, well, if you can't do it, you can't win. And so we need to vote someone that can. We need to get someone that can win, even in a winnable ward. I think personally, the thing is that our political system isn't very inclusive anyway. I mean, you can't really be in it if you're working class anymore. You can't really be in it if you're a single mum or in any way you're going to breed. You can't. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of designed now.
Those people would be amazing. The people like Jack Munro and people like that, get them into Parliament.
The thing is, though, don't you think that people like that don't want to be? It's almost like I don't want to be a member of that club because if that club would have me, then I'd be part of that club. Yeah. And I think that that's a lot of it. I do know some disabled MPs and people working in Parliament. I went to a Shaw Trust meeting in the Houses of Parliament of the all-party disability group or something only a week ago, and there were people there kind of that are getting into making laws and pushing for change. But part of it is to be honest, they're so unaware. I mean, the number of times that I've been to the Houses of Parliament and heard people call me handicapped. And you're just like, this isn't even working out whether it's people with disabilities or disabled people.
Sorry, you telling me that MPs use the wrong language?
To your face. And when you point it out, they go, but but because they can't be told, as we know. I mean, that's when they're not watching porn. But we won't go into that. So, because everyone does that at work, don't they? It's well known. You're sitting at work in a corner.
Just look at the voting records of your MP, and anything to do with Labour and access on that is always voted down.
It's and nothing. I mean, the thing is, the Houses of Parliament aren't very accessible. I know. I've been there a lot, and it is a bit of a bloody nightmare. And the thing is, it's historic listed building. Yeah. It's like, yeah, great, and they're going to spend billions of pounds doing it up, and it's still ain't going to be any more.
But will they make? Yeah, won't make it accessible, will they?
I mean, it's accessible if you visit it. It's got a new weird ramp and special security things, and
it is accessible. They get cheaper booze. That's accessible.
Yes, it is. It is. That's accessible, and all the restaurants are
subsidised.
Yeah. But it's kind of, I think more. I mean, it's funny because I do know some young disabled people going into it, and believe it or not, most of them are Tories. And it makes me cry. But it's
But do we need that? You say, "Oh, don't go near the Tory party because they're really awful." But do we need people like that in there?
I don't.
I know a Tory MP. He works for one of the. No, I don't. I know a Tory councillor. He works for one of the cabinet MPs. I know him through the beekeeping world, and he's a lovely, lovely chap.
I think the thing is that's the big problem, is that it's very easy to become party political, and a lot of things. I mean, I've all my life ended up in situations where I've been in a room full of people I wouldn't have never voted for, trying to argue for equality.
Let's make us bigger.
And I think it's really important to remember, and this is not something I'm proud of, but if you think about all the big steps forward in equality, they've all happened under a Tory government. Because I don't know why. I don't understand why it is that Labour kind of goes, but they kind of do. And we go on about the crushing awfulness of all the benefit stuff that's happening now. That started by Blair. Blair started that in 98, trying to get rid of DLA, trying to get rid of people on benefits. There'd been the huge push for 10 years earlier, going put disabled people on incapacity benefit. And then all of a sudden, got to get them all out to work. And it was like, you've got to make everywhere accessible first, mate. Oh, they've got an Equality Act now, so that'll be fine. And I think that's the truth of it, is neither of the parties none of the parties generally speak for us. And I think that locally, and I think Avril knows my views on this, that most councils, whatever flag they wave, whatever colour flag they wave, are quite bad at understanding how to make places accessible. And I think that we do need more people. But I know from my experience, every time you do anything to a local council and you try to point out what they need to do, they just ignore you. And I get the feeling that if you became a councillor, you'd be the lone voice on the council going, what about access? And they go,
maybe we need our own party.
Maybe, yeah. What we need to do is get the Women's Equality Party and a few other equality parties to come together to just be the Equality Party and say, look, we're not one way or the other. We're not red or blue.
Your tweet this week about the new possibility of the Human Rights Bill being rewritten, where doctors could say, right, you're having a DNR. And you're like, no, I don't want it. And they're like, no.
Do you know what? It's funny, right? Because this isn't the question anyone's asked, but I think it's really weird that 5 MPs that call themselves. So one of the things is people that are disabled don't necessarily talk about it. If it's a non-visible impairment, they kind of go,
yeah.
Because think of the number of people that might have mental health issues, or there's lots of people like that kind of they don't, because don't want to get, might affect.
It's a weakness, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's seen as a weakness, and it will be painted as such by the other side. That's the other thing. You don't want to vote for him. He's disabled.
It's like a school playground in there, isn't it? Or name calling and
stuff. But what were your questions? I've forgotten.
DNR,
yes. What I didn't know was that DNRs can be placed upon you without, you've got to have your permission to put them on, but then they can enact them without your request, with your permission. But what this is, it's kind of a bit weird, but the problem is that it's not like the removal of the European Human Rights Act is going to be placed with a stricter version. It's more likely to be replaced with a less strict version. And so there is a big concern that what's going to happen is doctors can put it on you if they think it's, if you need it, without sort of going, so what are your thoughts if it gets to a position where we can't save you? And especially, I first reported on this about 97 on the BBC, where I said, basically, I went to interview a solicitor who had gone into hospital for a minor surgical thing and found a DNR on her notes. And when challenged, they said, yes, but look at your quality of life. And she was like, but I've got a job, I'm married, okay, I'm disabled, I'm in a wheelchair, but I'm, what? And that became a big sort of issue, and it's still happening now,
And it got worse during COVID, didn't it?
Yeah, that was the point. The number of people with learning disabilities that found that they were not getting treatment and stuff, and it's, but this is, again, it comes back. This is why we need to get into politics, because if we're not standing, sitting, whatever, at the dispatch box going, does the right honourable gentleman not shut up? Why won't the right honourable gentleman shove it up his ass? Which is probably why I won't ever end up in.
Yeah, me too. I couldn't be in there.
I could. I'd just be like,
whether like you're going to be kicked out if you call him a liar. I'd be like, liar,
pants on. But we need to get our voices heard to make people understand that our lives are livable and are worth living. And I think that it's kind of funny that you see a lot of people in the media that are disabled that kind of, there's always this underlying message of tragedy because it works for their sort of brand. Do you know what I mean? I'm overcoming, I'm beating this terrible thing. And it's like, really what we need is someone to say, no, I don't, best time in life, mate. Do you know what I mean?
There's no in the middle disability. They're either climbing up mountains, dragging their wheelchair behind them, or they're so weak and frail fighting for their lives.
It's like we were discussing this earlier, weren't we? And you said, one of the reasons why I wouldn't be able to do it is I'd lose my benefits. Yeah. So, if I was well enough to get into
politics,
I could
do it, but
but if I was well enough to get into benefits, then into politics, if I was well enough to get benefits, I'll be all right. But do you know what I mean? And actually, I think that's one of the big problems that we face is we have this problem at the minute where many disabled people have said, right, you either are too sick to work, or you're not. And that's not. I'm lucky. I built myself a career where I can be ill and work. But that's really rare. Most people.
I know a lot of people on benefits. Someone posted this week. She goes to the gym once a week. It makes her unwell, but she enjoys doing it. She doesn't go mad, but she's scared that she's going to get in trouble for it. And I think there is this on welfare. You've got this concern of if I do.
The thing is
push
you know what?
Hard,
when I applied for when my DLA became PIP, I applied, did all the stuff, wrote all the stuff. I'm very annoyingly knowledgeable about my condition, and I write in medical terminology. So I wrote about having passive exercises. Now that means the exercises that someone does to you when you have paralyzed legs, to keep your toes from doing that, to keep your feet from clawing, to keep your knees. So basically my wife twice a day or once a day does a kind of set of exercises. They're called passive exercises. And basically I've had them done by my mum, by my girlfriends, and now by my wife. And I don't do them. So it's not going down the gym. It's laying on a bed while someone wiggles your legs, basically. She waves them in the air and moves them out and moves them in and makes knees and wiggles each toe and all this stuff. Now, I wrote that and immediately got marked down because I go and exercise. It took me a year to get the qualified expert assessor to know what passive meant in that statement. And it's like, that's why we're fucked. Because if we genuinely are being assessed by people that don't even understand basic medical terminology, like passive is exercise you don't do, active or include or exercise, the word passive means something, or should, at least to the experts who deal with our medical situation. And I think that's a huge problem. And that, then, and also, we're having funny, PIP is nothing to do with bloody working. No. You can get PIP if you're flying to the moon, as long as you need support.
Mick, they've told you're not allowed to fly to the moon. Stop keeping on about it.
but the thing is that
I know people.
If you can do that, then you're not getting PIP. But PIP's nothing to do with working.
No,
PIP's nothing to do with being able to go to the gym. Right? You might go to the gym and need support putting your gym gear on. That's what PIP's for. It isn't about can you do something. It's about how much help you need to do it. So if you might go to the gym, but you may need someone to drive you there because you can't get there on your own because you can't work out where the gym is and you can't work out how to get home. That's not. We went to the gym.
May need showering afterwards.
And it's But then that cyclically back to the answer question is why we need to be in politics. I think as well that we are a generation where there aren't that many, like me and you, 50 odds, the age that all the people are in government currently who are messing up the country so royally all went to school with us and round our age and were growing up during punk and New Romantics. And I cannot believe that Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg are the same age as New Romantics and punks. It's shocking to me. That
Rees-Mogg was a New Romantic. Come on, you can imagine him with his hair.
All dressed in black with a Nazi armband on. Yes. Anyway, moving on. But I think that like lots of us, the people that we would have needed to get into politics earlier, and we would need and it's like our generation is that generation that for many of us, it's taken us this long to get to a point where we could think about it, whereas they've already been doing it for 20 years. So I think it will be the younger people that climb up. Oh, what's Adam said? I think the bar for medically qualified is getting lower and lower when medical model of disability combines with ableist incompetence. Yes, Adam, you are so right. I think that, I mean, ironically, I used to actually have a friend who worked at Atos as an assessor. And she worked in the gym. That's what she did before. So she wasn't an OT or anything. She was a gym bunny.
I'm at the frustrating bloody stage where my blue badge has got to be renewed and I've got to apply it now. But my PIP technically should have run out a couple of years ago during COVID, but it was extended, sent off in November. It's out, but I'm still being paid. So I can't apply for a blue badge because my PIP is out.
And the other thing I think this is very bizarre about all about is the fact that you now need to send a new PIP letter. So you're given a 10-year PIP award, Brill. And then every 3 years you have to contact them to say, hello, could I have a new PIP letter, please? And anything else you get, you need a PIP. It's like, so the letter that says you'll have it for 10 years isn't enough, apparently. And
well,
like, so is that how useless the system
is? I got 5 years on my PIP. I went from an indefinite award on DLA to 5 years.
Yeah. The thing is, they always go, oh, there was loads of people out there defrauding them and it got better. And then, right? And it's like, no, there ain't. There ain't that many people. I mean, without being funny, if you really want to defraud the PIP or DLA, I think you deserve it. It's such a bloody battle. Hats off to you, mate. Do you know what I mean? Real people with I'm paralysed from the waist down, and I still spent a year trying to get my proper award. So if you are, if you're that knackered and you can't get it.
In a PIP assessment, he said, so how do you do this? I said, well, my wife helps me. You can't say that. Why? He said, because it's all about data protection and it's not her interview. We can't say your wife. You have to say somebody else helps you. So, but somebody else doesn't help me. My wife helps me. I don't open the front door and go, help, I need a poo.
See, again, right? It's funny because Adam has just come back saying he's not even been switched over from DLA. And
shouldn't have said that, Adam. They've got
long may that last, mate. Keep that stum.
Yeah.
But exactly.
Quick delete.
You can't. Yeah, he didn't say that. Adam didn't say that. Adam said, I've been on PIP for many years now and it's all fine. And please don't look, stop. Over there, look over there, look somewhere over there. Anyway, the idea that, of course, our family members help us. That's what PIP and DLA was for saying, well, your family does it, so you can give them a little bit of money. The idea that if we had full-time care, we'd be on a different benefit. This is the point. I'm luckily old enough and long in the tooth enough to remember when it was attendance allowance and mobility allowance, and they were paid, right, to people. You were assessed and your attendance was like, well, yes, your mum does this and your brother does this and your friend does that and your wife does this. Brilliant, get it. And your mobility allowance was, oh, you can't walk very far. There you go, mate. And that was it.
Well, actually, the lowest on the form is you can walk up to 20 metres.
Yeah, I mean, that was
0.6% fraud.
Oh, yeah, no, as Adam so rightly pointed out.
How much did that fraud actually cost and how much has all these assessments and all these appeals actually...
The thing to remember, right, is that
I'm sorry, we are digressing away from.
We will answer some of your questions in a minute, don't worry. But when you claim PIP, the claim company gets paid 200 quid to assess your claim. If they refuse your claim or decrease your amount or whatever, so you make a mandatory reconsideration claim, that's 200 quid again. And then if they go to the tribunal, that's 200 quid again. So for them, saying no makes more money than saying yes.
We've got
and that's what happens when you make it private.
We've got a question coming from a Mr. Reese Mogg. He said, do you know where Adam Pearson lives?
Everybody, if you haven't followed Zec's Twitter account and Facebook account, follow them, because every now and again he posts a joke, and I'm not joking, my sides split. I got
a 7-day Twitter ban because the Southend half marathon wished its runners well, and I said, except for James Duddridge, I hope he gets blisters and chafed nipples, and I was threatening harm to an MP.
Wow, there you go. See, this is what it's like. And it's funny, isn't it? You can do that. You can, well, it's being nasty to me, but you can't do it to the MPs about being nasty about us. But anyway, yeah, Adam is correct. That it's 0.6% fraud. It's slightly more in one than on the other. So there's the PIP fraud, and then there's out of work benefit fraud, and one is slightly, but they are both under. I think one's 0.5, one's 0.7, which is why it makes it 0.6. Like I said, the amount of money spent on it compared to the amount of money that they make back, and also I think there's something like so many £billion fraud, and there's about £13 billion of the unclaimed benefits that we're entitled to that no one tells us about.
Maybe they should look at taxes instead.
So that, Avril, is the longest answer in the history of man, woman, and small furry creatures from Alpha Centauri to a single question.
I don't know. Giles Brandreth must have the record.
I want that job. Do you know, I actually used to do the news reviews on This Morning, and I did an agony uncle section where people who was disabled rang in and said, I've got a problem. And someone rang in and said something, and I said, well, to be honest, the person you're talking about hasn't got a leg to stand on. And the Sun ran a page story going how offensive I was to people that had only one leg. And it was like, I don't want to worry you, mate, but we're disabled. We're allowed to make those jokes because there are in jokes. But apparently that meant I didn't go back on This Morning. Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Abby, what was the question?
What was the question? The question was about voting.
Why have we got more disabled MPs?
Why have we got more disabled MPs? And the answer is all of the above and more. Now I'm going to ask something from Anonymous.
Because Adam gets DLA.
Yeah, Adam gets DLA. You didn't see it. We weren't here, right? No. This didn't happen. No. All of this isn't here.
No one watches, don't worry.
We'll take it out of the edit. Anyway, Anonymous has said, I want to come off of some of my meds, but I am concerned that, ironically, when my PIP is due for renewal, will that go against me? What would you advise me to do?
This is it, because they do go a lot on your medication. This was ESA actually. I failed the assessment on ESA. We went 6 months on reduced money, really shit. And we got a phone call one day. I was unwell. My wife took it. And when she said I took Oromorph, they went, oh, well, that's a pass. And she said, but we told you that.
Oh, you spelt it wrong. Oh, I thought you meant morph. Morph from,
I thought you was on a plasticine guy.
Sorry, I thought, Oromorph. Oh, I thought you were talking about
not oral.
I thought you were talking about sexual acts.
What have you been doing with morph?
Exactly.
That's why I don't work for the BBC anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly, yes. No, oh my God. Sorry, I watched The Boys last night.
I haven't watched the latest episode.
Herogasm. Oh my God, it's just the best thing you've ever seen. And when you watch it, see if you can see the scene that actually Amazon had to clear, right? Because it's not the one you'll think. When you watch it and...
They had to clear... Since in the previous episode, a man made himself miniature, went inside his boyfriend's penis and stroked the inside, and when he sneezed,
exactly that, and then sneezed got big again and blew him into pieces. Yes, that was not apparently something that they thought was too far. There's something in this episode, Herogasm, that is so far that they were unsure whether that Amazon had to send it up to the lawyers, and it's like. What? Out of the whole episode, you wouldn't think it was that.
Right,
I'll tell you more next time. Anyway, I think I have come meds. I've come off quite a lot. At one point, I was taking a large amount of like pain medication, like opioids, and then all the stuff that you need to take with opioids, because opioids mess you up, and it becomes a kind of snowball effect that each one's got a side effect that then makes something else need a side effect and needs another, and you end up with this horrible chain of like more till you're swallowing, bucket loads. And I've cut down. So I now take as little as I need to. I have recently started taking amitriptyline for neuralgic pain, and what a life changer that's been. So I'm admittedly also
that made me a zombie. I'm on normal.
I take 20 milligrams, 10 in the morning, 10 in the afternoon.
Right.
And what I will say is, if you need to sleep, have a beer. Have a whiskey before sleep on amitriptyline.
Where is the banner? I've lost the banner. Our presenters' views are their
our
own
presenters' views are, but that really works.
Episode,
oh yeah, no. Do you remember what were we doing ages ago when we were talking about something about
we were
this?
talking about chronic pain and mixing.
Yeah, we got in
Take
big
your
trouble.
meds with alcohol.
Yes, lovely.
There we go.
Anyway, but I think I've never really talked. I mean, the pip I get isn't really involved with medicine at all. I don't get any other benefits. So yeah. If you haven't seen it, folks, I don't think it'll ever go on terrestrial television, not unless it's been so heavily edited that it's almost like a half-hour show. But The Boys is fun.
I'm not allowed to watch it with Donna around, so
okay. I loves it. Oh, dear. But I think the thing is that you don't. My father-in-law was epileptic, and sadly he's died now. But he used to take lots of medication. Sometimes they'd prescribe him the same thing with different names, and he'd be overdosed. And he used to regularly try and come off, and it was a bad idea. What he needed to do was be assisted to find a level. Do you know what I mean? Where you go, right, I'm happy, and that's what I've done.
Yeah, pre-gambling, I was on 600, 300 twice a day. I'm now on 100 once a day.
Yeah, right. Now I took pregambling. I took it for a week, and then I threw them away. Same with everything I've taken like that. The strong ones are horrible. I mean, and I mean, I'm probably at a moment in my life now where the pain I'm going through at the minute, I quite like to find something that took the edge off. I went shopping in John Lewis yesterday. I managed to drive there, get out, wheel into John Lewis, get to the department I wanted to. Then the pain kicked in and we turned around and I wheeled home, drove home, collapsed on the sofa. And it was like, well, that was bloody pointless. So something you could do then and go, oh, that's kept it so I can carry on with life. Yeah. But I think the thing is, I do think that medicines can be thrown at us. So I think that's something to remember. But I think the thing is don't you? Do you know what I mean? Like, whoever, the question person, do you not get that feeling when you're like, well, I'm really spaced out now, and it's not like it's not doing something.
It's not that. It's as we change as well. I mean, when I was first in pain, I'm in pain. I need everything I can, and then you realise that, right? Well, I'm in pain, so they're going to give me a bit more, and then my body gets, and you just go up and up.
Yeah.
And I found actually when I came down to 100 milligrams of pregabalin, that I actually
Sorry, I've just seen Adam. See Adam coming in here. Out of us.
I'm better off on 100 milligram of pregabalin. But recently, my doctor's taken that to every other day, and it's not back to being cut all over my feet.
See, I think the thing is that's the thing. Is I think what you do is you drop it slowly, and I mean really slowly, folks. And then you get to a point where you go, oh, now actually I feel like I need something. And then that's when you go, right.
Especially with pregabalin, take that shit slow coming off.
Yeah. That's Jesus. Yeah. All of them things. And also what's really, I don't know about you, but I've been given loads of pills that they give you and they go, oh, new pill, lovely. Well, this is the one for you. Take it and go, no, I'm all right, mate. And then about a month later, they go, are you still taking that pain medication? And you go, no. Oh, that's really good because we just found out it's really bad. We've actually taken it off the market. That's happened to me about 3 times.
You get given a medication for your pain, you open it up, and it can cause pain.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, Adam has just said, you're saying medicine, but I'm hearing drug addict. See, that's one of the big things I think is that I've written lots of articles.
Seen your videos.
Yeah. I've written, Adam's been clubbing with me. I think he's seen what the real state I could get in. But I think that one of the things is I actually, I kind of remember when the pain kicked in, the treatments they used to give years ago were way stronger. I mean, like they only had a few solutions. So I think called a DF118, right, which is dihydrocodone, and it was basically like you took 2, and I remember sitting.
Your liver then processes that into morphine, doesn't it?
So you sit, and I was going, because that was the only part of my body I could feel. Just sitting there going, it was really so. But ironically, I've dropped my pain meds down quite low. But now with the amitriptyline and pain, when the pain kicks in, last night I was flying because I had a really bad pain day yesterday, and the combination of the pain and
pain
the meds, right? And I was saying to Diane, the only part of the whole room I could focus on was the telly because it's in 2D. 3D, I couldn't. Sitting in the lights.
I mean, I guess these agencies, these people could say, "Oh, look, lowered medication means lower."
Yeah,
pain.
They could do.
Because if they don't understand passive exercise, they're not going to understand.
No. But then on the other, I mean, I know, we didn't say this, folks, but I do wonder if there's kind of that idea that if you're still taking it, you're taking it. Do you know what I mean? So you just write, "This is my medication." You don't have to write down dosages. So, I'd just say, "Yeah, I'm taking Oromorph, I'm taking this, and I'm taking that." And if they come back to you and say what are the doses, then you tell them. But I don't know. I mean, I always just write things are the same because they are. Yeah, to be honest, without being funny, you get to a certain age when you're disabled when the only way is down. So when they assess you last time and they go, "Is everything the same?" You go, "Yeah, but it's just a bit more shit." And it's like, if I got it before, trust me, just stick with what you got because it's not like I'm suddenly going to be miraculously better.
Do you know, I'm very aware. When I had my last wheelchair assessment, they said, "You sit to one side," and I said, "No, I don't. I sit straight." And I've been watching myself on screen.
No, do you know what? It's funny. Because I've got this thing when my base of my spine is crumbling a bit. Apparently, that's something.
I think I've lost a bum cheek.
Yeah. Well, I've actually got one bum smaller than the other, so that's how I sit. So I've got to try and I have to tighten one bum and loosen the other to sit up straight. Trust me. The annoyances of wheelchair use. What was that?
I was jacking myself up. They're very that are wonky.
But the thing, like there are ways apparently of making your cushion different, but then you sit wonky, which then exacerbates your spinal deformity, and then you end up kind of going. Eh. So I don't know. It's all rubbish.
And maybe it's because I'm from Essex, and when I used to drive, I used to lean on the car window like that. You're right, mate.
Luton and Essex.
Luton and Essex.
We're bonded, mate. Out the window, loud music, really crappy little car, loudspeakers playing. And of course, when I was young, we were playing Billy Idol and Depeche Mode. Now they're like, boom, boom.
Oh, I can remember Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Pleasure Dome, out the window, my mate's car.
That's it. Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. Wow, great album. Right, let's see. Can we find? We've got one last question here from Katie about one unusual fact that people don't know about you, because we've only got a couple of minutes left. And
I know one unusual fact. Mick's got one bum cheek smaller than the other.
Worse than that, I've got one foot that is 3 sizes smaller than the other. So I actually have what my wife calls a baby foot, because I have a size 6 foot that hasn't grown since I was.
We know that. You have told us that. That's not a fact.
Oh, well, that's okay. That's not a secret.
You're going to have to dig really deeper than that, Scarlett.
Okay. Secret. My name's not Mik Scarlett, but you're not finding out what it really is.
Well, yeah, likewise. My mother did not name me Zechariah. I changed it. I hated mine. Hated it. Everybody in Essex was called bloody Darren.
Yeah.
You look up everybody's name in the dictionary. It's got name, beloved of God, child of the wilderness. You look up Darren. It says Pillock from Essex, and I'm like, no, I don't want to be called that anymore. So many years ago, I ditched it.
I am called Michael, but I have another name. I wasn't allowed to use it because Equity wouldn't let me use it. So I had to become Scarlett after the wonderful Captain Scarlett, who is, of course, indestructible. If only I was. Come on, you haven't given what fact? What's your fact? Come on, while I'm thinking of a fact.
Very unusual fact about me. I don't know a very unusual fact about me that nobody knows. But my wife's a dwarf. I don't know. 4'10". I don't know.
I have one leg shorter than the other, actually. Katie has just said I have one leg shorter than the other. So that's actually part of the reason why I'm in a wheelchair, because one leg was so much shorter than the other, it bent my back and made it collapse. What was I was actually going to say a secret then, but it's gone. Any secrets?
I'm unsociable and I'm a miserable old bugger. I'll do this. I'll chat to everyone online. Hello, how are you? You come around my house and I'll kill you.
I'm not like that. It's funny. This, you see, what we should have done is asked everyone for smash hit style questions, like what's your favourite eyeliner, what's your favourite record, what's your favourite colour. Those are great. Yeah. Oh, trust me, it was nice.
Now, since as I was really different, I've never had a taste in music, but I've liked basically chart stuff, and yet the cult She Sells Sanctuary is one of those ones that I've always loved and has had to be full volume.
Howling mix. Howling mix of She Sells Sanctuary was a floor filler at the Electric Ballroom,
and not be, my style of music.
It was brilliant. We'd go mad to it, especially if you played Billy Idol's White Wedding, the long mix after it, because they both have a similar bass line, so it was really good. That was before DJs did that mixing thing where you just played one into the other. Secrets. God, I don't really. Do you know what? It's one of the things my wife has always said about me is I don't really have any secrets. I can't keep a secret, and it's something she's had to learn to put up with. Is the fact that if you get me even in the camera like this, I will tell you absolutely bloody everything. I know I'm showing my age. Adam has said smash hits questions, but that's what they were like, right? And ironically, right, the guy we live opposite a coffee shop, and the guy who's decorating the coffee shop at the moment used to work at Smash Hits. So we're having all conversations about music from the 80s. It's great. Went to see Grace Jones last week.
I always remember being in hospital. Brilliant. My appendix had burst. I was very unwell. My mate brought me in, and what was it called? NME, the music. Yep.
New music.
I know I wasn't really into my music. I really was. He threw it on the bed, and I'm like, "That's weird. It's my mate. Well, he knows that." And then when I was really rough that night, this male nurse sat on the bed and sat with me, and he says, "Right, if I have a read through this," and he opened it up, and there was a porno mag in there.
That's hospitals for you, folks.
Show your age, that was probably Reader's Wives.
It probably was. No, that was a section. You didn't get
Reader's Ryan, Wives. I saw you at the Electric Ballroom.
I was a regular at the Electric Ballroom. It's where I met my wife. It's where I went clubbing almost every week. And like we said, you'd hear there were certain tracks, and everyone, wherever they were, would run to the dance floor. And She Sells Sanctuary was one of them.
Katie, favourite object in your house?
Television.
It's got to be in it.
Wife. The wife, then television. I'm making sure I say that. Wife, then television. But that's it.
Wife, then television. She doesn't watch this. TV, then the wife.
I'll see.
I can turn the TV off.
Because Adam's Adam Pearson, actor, superstar, is in New York City at the moment.
No.
In a film. Mr. Film Star. So we've got film stars watching this show. Yeah.
He's blagged himself a film.
He's been in loads of stuff. He's a proper jobby actor, mate.
No, I know, but I mean, are we going to get the inside scoop?
There you go, Adam. That's the offer. You have to come on next time. Although, will your own podcast allow you on the rival podcast? Although we're not really rivals. We're basically the same show. It's just different faces. We're both old men that moan a lot. Just you've grabbed the Grumpy Old Gits title first.
New York, lovely.
Yeah, NYC.
I've only ever wanted to go to America for the food
I hated New York. I absolutely hated it. I worked out there with the BBC. Bloody hated every second of it. Just loathsome place. So I never wanted to go back ever. Other than shopping. Shopping's good, but it wasn't my kind of thing. It was too big.
But speaking of America, before we came on, and I think we need to finish by saying, Mik and
yes,
like everyone else, are disgusted at what's happened out there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
With the abortion. But what I'm going to do for those people that weren't here at the beginning, I played this.
Oh my God! I want to die! And there you go. And I've still got time to read my paper.
Do you know what? No wonder people used to come up to me and go, bloody hell, Chris Packham, what's happened to you? Happy days.
Adam says he had, Morissette tickets. I've only ever been to one gig. Gig in my life.
Really?
Can you guess what that gig was? Look at me. What gig did I go?
Kylie.
No, I took a friend, this girl, she really wanted to go. It was 5-star.
Oh, wow, I'm really jealous. 5-star.
5-star at the Cliff Pavilion. A crunchy tour.
Because something my wife laughs at. That's a secret. I have the world's worst collection of pop records. Like, I have almost everything by Stock Aitken and Waterman. I used to know Pete Waterman. I used to go and sit in the studio with him while he was working on this kind of stuff. Sad. And so actually, 5-star, very good band. Love them. Very cool, stylish. 80s. Wow. ZZ Top. Wow.
I think that's what I guessed that I've
I can see that's your style direction.
I had the picture disc, talking about cheesy songs. I had the picture disc of that. What did the song go? I want to be a cowboy. You could be my cowgirl. Do you remember that?
No, thankfully. I did used to rave DJ to the First Steps track. 5, 6, 7, 8.
We had some strange. We're going over here. We had some strange records. Yeah. I mean, do you remember Nelly the Elephant?
What, by the Nelly Elephant?
And then the B-side of Fisted Cuffs in Frederick Street. There's Fisted Cuffs in Frederick Street.
Well, the ironic thing is now, of course, I write for a music magazine called Blitzed, which is all about 80s and late 70s and early 80s synth-based new romantic type stuff. And so I'm finding all these new bands that are coming out. I'm currently very much in love with the band Josie Pace, who is a female American synth pop industrial person. She's Got Claws are fantastic. Deadlights? Yeah, Deadlights are great. They're like Dead or Alive meets Sisters of Mercy.
80s is really in, isn't it? I mean,
I know. Bloody in, and I'm not well enough to go out. I should be in clubs all day going, you young people aren't doing it right. You don't want to do it like that. You want to do it like
And then they went and played on the Umbrella Academy. They played that. Was it Footloose or something they played recently?
But it's good to know that children still love Kate Bush. Young people, Kate Bush, running up that hill with no problem. Of course, we'll probably get done now because Facebook will stop us using the video because I've sung more than so many seconds of a song that I don't own the rights to.
I don't think what we've sung could be classed as singing. I think we're going to be all right.
I've got a wonderful voice.
How was that pop career?
Adam Pearson's a Deadlights fan as well. They are fantastic.
Never heard of them. I should look them up.
They're great. They're kind of
industrial. We're waffling now.
Opera. We are. We've gone way over, folks. So what we're going to say is we might do this again because I quite like the questiony thing. Mainly because we've still got about 20 questions we haven't answered.
Adam Pearson, come over to the dark side and join us for an episode.
Yeah, come over. Tell us all about New York, man. What's it like? Yeah, man. Has it got better since the 90s when it smelt of meat? I will just leave with this one story about New York. I was in New York and I was sitting in my hotel room watching the news, and it came on a shock horror story of some masonry had fallen off the Empire State Building during refurbishment, and it had gone through a bus and killed someone. Now, I'd never seen anything like this in British news. Now I would, but back then I hadn't. And they were like, I'm here at the shocking incident today by the Empire State Building, and with me we have blah, 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 a witness to the accident. So what happened? And this guy was white as a sheet, covered in blood. And he had just stepped off the bus. And he went, I was sitting on the bus and there was this man sitting next to me. And 1 minute he was there and then he was gone. And that's what he said. And I just thought, this poor bloke has had the most traumatic experience of his life.
He's in shock.
And the journalist is going, tell me, what happened? What was it like? And I was just like, oh my God. It was an interesting experience, the likes of which I wouldn't wish on even my worst enemy. But there we go. I hope Adam's having a wonderful time and being treated like the celebrity that he is. I suppose we ought to go, really, because I'm going to go out and eat. I'm going to have some dinner. So it's been wonderful to have you all here, folks.
Yes.
If we haven't answered your question this time, we'll answer it in a future episode. So keep saying.
I don't know what we've got lined up for next time.
No, we've got nothing lined up next time. So we've got 2 weeks to run around like a headless chicken. But I thought we had Katie coming on to talk about.
We have
stuff. That's it. Stuff. Talk about stuff like theatre and stuff. And
no, I've got a question, but it's in a folder, and yes, Katie's joined us.
Katie's joined us. So we're going to have a Katie special.
Who's going to be our viewer next week if Katie's on?
I know, we've had it.
Once had a newscast to say there's been a blast in a major new. Oh no, hang on. Katie's got that there.
I'll tell you what after somewhere in non-America, something has happened. We'll tell you more After
I
these
mean, we are
adverts.
pushing it, asking Adam to come on. He's one mastermind, and then there's us two.
Do you know what? I applied to go on Mastermind, and I couldn't even get past the entry thing because I'm so stupid.
What would be your? We're waffling on. What would be your specialised subject?
I will tell you what they were. Gary Newman records, 1979 to 1981, and the synthesizers of Roland, 1975 to 1985.
Roland. Now, the only Roland I know was the big kid on Grange Hill.
Yes, who became a rave DJ.
Did he?
I've actually clubbed at clubs with that guy, the DJ.
Roland.
Really good. Roland. Yes. Anyway, we're waffling now.
We're going to go because otherwise
we've got to go because this is why you need a kind of studio manager to do that and then do that and then go 5, 4, 3.
You're not going to mess it up.
Okay, thanks. See you all soon. See you next week. Thanks for that. That was lovely. Don't push stop yet. Until now.